Breaking news! There's been some hot news recently that we need to discuss. I'm going to give you all the details on the latest behind-the-scenes happenings. And if you don't want to miss any breaking news about our team, be sure to hit that like button right now and subscribe to stay up to date. We have some big news today involving two of our star players, and you're going to want to hear all the details. It turns out that Drake London and Robinson are both facing hefty fines following the Falcons' overtime loss to the Panthers. According to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, London was fined $11,255 for taunting after his touchdown catch just before halftime, while Robinson was hit even harder with a $22,511 fine for unnecessary roughness in the fourth quarter. That's over $30,000 combined. Now, this isn't the first time London has been in the league spotlight for fines. Remember back in Week 2 when he caught that game-winning touchdown against the Eagles on Monday Night Football? His celebration, mimicking a gunshot, cost him $14,069. London later addressed the issue, saying, "There's a lot going on in the world with gun violence that I don't think I should have shown up there. So I'm not very happy about it, and you're probably not going to see that from me again." Robinson has had his share of controversy, too. Earlier this season, the Falcons were fined $75,000. And Coach Arthur Smith was hit with a $25,000 fine for failing to report Robinson's illness before their Week 7 matchup against the Buccaneers. Despite those fines, both players put up monster numbers late in the season. London had a phenomenal game, catching 10 passes for 187 yards and 2 touchdowns. Robinson was equally dominant, rushing for 170 yards and scoring twice on 28 carries. These two clearly gave it their all, though the Falcons lost 44-38 to Carolina. Unfortunately, the loss sealed the Falcons' fate as the Bucs secured the NFC South by defeating the Saints, ending our playoff hopes for the season. But hey, there's plenty to be excited about for next year. London and Robinson have proven themselves to be among the best at their positions, and with a few key changes this offseason, this team could be back in the playoff hunt. Speaking of next season, what do you think, Falcons fans? Will we finally end this 7-year playoff drought in 2025? The division looks pretty wide open, with the Saints and Panthers still rebuilding, so it could come down to us and Tampa once again. Let us know in the comments. Now, we have some important updates on the coaching staff after a disappointing 2024 season. The Falcons didn't waste any time making some bold moves after a disappointing 8-9 finish. According to NFL insider Ian Rappaport, Atlanta has officially parted ways with defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake and defensive line coach Jay Rodgers. Lake was brought in last offseason along with head coach Raheem Morris, but the results just didn't work out. Let's be real here, the defense under Lake has taken a serious step back. Remember that promising 2023 season when Atlanta's defense ranked 18th in scoring and 11th in yards allowed? Yep. That progress has completely undone. Last season, the Falcons' defense dropped to 23rd in scoring, 24.9 points per game, and total yards allowed, 345.2 per game. Worse still, they allowed opposing quarterbacks to complete an alarming 69.9% of their passes, allowing 34 touchdowns, second most in the league. Not exactly what you want when you're aiming for a playoff push. Now, some of you may be asking, why the change now? Well, Atlanta was the preseason favorite to win the NFC South, and instead we saw their postseason drought stretch to 7 painful years. The defense simply couldn't hold its own, especially against the pass. But the struggles didn't stop there. The Falcons were only middle of the pack against the run, ranking 18th with 4.5 yards per carry allowed. And when it came time to pressure the quarterback, Atlanta's pass pressure was almost invisible, finishing the year with just 31 sacks, second fewest in the league, and a pressure rate of just 20%, ranking 25th. So what's next for the Falcons? The next defensive coordinator has a huge job ahead of them. The secondary needs serious work, and the pass rush needs to improve if Atlanta wants to compete with the league's elite. But there is a silver lining, Falcons fans. Safety Jesse Bates has been a bright spot since his arrival in 2023. In just 2 seasons, Bates has racked up 234 tackles, 10 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, and even 2 defensive touchdowns. The guy has been a playmaker, and that's exactly the kind of building block the next coordinator can build on. Let's not forget how much this team has invested in offensive firepower in recent drafts. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Robinson, and now Michael Penix Jr., the talent is there. If this defense can get to league average, this team could easily take control of the NFC South. And guess what? The Falcons swept Tampa Bay in 2024, showing they're not far off from dethroning the division champions. So was firing Jimmy Lake the right decision? Do you think the next defensive coordinator will turn things around? Now we have to talk about a bold trade proposal involving Kirk Cousins that could shake things up in Atlanta. According to Bleacher Report, one potential trade scenario has the Las Vegas Raiders offering the Falcons a fourth-round pick and cornerback Jack Jones in exchange for veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins. Now, let's break it down. If a team is genuinely willing to offer a mid-round draft pick and a potential starter in Jones, Falcons GM Terry Fontenot would have to accept that deal without hesitation. Considering Cousins' contract situation and his inconsistent play late in the season, moving on makes a lot of sense. Of course, trading Cousins is no easy task. His hefty contract and age make it difficult for many teams to take the bait. But there's one key factor working in Atlanta's favor here: the lack of top-tier quarterback prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. Last year, we saw a stacked QB class featuring Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and our own Michael Penix Jr., but this year, only 2 quarterbacks are projected as potential first-rounders. That scarcity could lead a team like the Raiders to take a shot at a veteran like Cousins if they can't secure a top rookie in the draft. So why the Raiders? Las Vegas is one of the most interesting fits for Cousins. They're in desperate need of a quarterback upgrade, but they're currently out of position to land a top prospect. Plus, they're not exactly the most attractive destination for elite free agents. Trading for a proven veteran like Cousins might be their best chance to remain competitive. Sure, there's a slim chance they'll actually pull the trigger, but it's far from impossible. Let's be honest, Falcons fans, the Raiders taking on Cousins would be a huge win for Atlanta. Not only would it free up much-needed salary cap space, but getting a fourth-round pick and a promising cornerback like Jack Jones in return would be a solid return. Jones has shown flashes of being a playmaker, and the Falcons secondary could use some depth and competition heading into the 2025 season. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, why trade Cousins when we need a veteran presence? But let's not forget, the Falcons have invested heavily in Michael Penix Jr. It's time to fully commit to the young QB and surround him with the talent he needs to succeed. Moving Cousins would signal that Atlanta is fully in the Penix era, and honestly, it feels like the right move. It's also important to remember that trading Cousins would be righting a mistake made by the front office. The initial signing may have seemed promising, but with Penix waiting in the wings and the team needing to balance the books, this trade could be exactly what the Falcons need to turn the page. So what do you think, Falcons fans? Should Atlanta explore this trade with the Raiders and move on from Kirk Cousins? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive Falcons updates. Rise up! Go Falcons!